When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
A milestone moment creates a beautiful memory for years to come. And now's the time to celebrate it with 35% off select pieces at Blue Nile. Blue Nile makes your most valuable moments sparkle with jewelry gifts of the highest quality offered at the best price. You'll also find expert guidance and the level of convenience you'd expect from the world's leading online jeweler. Right now, take advantage of 35% off select pieces at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, welcome to AI Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Carol Matchett. How are you today, sir?
Oh, full of anticipation, excitement, and many other words besides at the impending start of football's by-the-side version of medal things.
So today, the Olympic football tournament kicks off, and we're going to take a bit of a look at that. And we're also going to have a look at some pre-season stuff. So let's start with the pre-season stuff, Carol. You have just informed me that Liverpool will play their first game on Friday evening US time, which will be shortly after midnight UK time. It's an interesting squad that's gone. There's not a lot of senior players because obviously players by mandate have to have 3 weeks off after the last game that they're involved in, whether they play or not. And by the sounds of things, Liverpool are also going to grant a couple of extra days off to players that played heavy minutes in their international tournaments. So while Ibu and Gravenberch might get back a little bit quicker, players like Virgil and Gakpo, who went out at the same stage in the Euros, might get a couple of extra days.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be quite important for quite a number of those players from last season. We saw there were very, very mixed performances. Nothing to do with technical or formation or positions or anything at all. I'm talking just from a purely physical level last season. Like we saw a real wide variety, especially some of them who had come from, should we say, a shorter season in Germany to a no-break, longer season in England. You know, there was quite a discrepancy, wasn't there? So plenty of rest on the agenda, new regime, got to start off on as much of the right foot as possible. And if that means a bit less initial training time, that's just something we sort of have to deal with, really. No other way to put it.
No, exactly. So the squad that has gone, the goalkeepers are Cleveland Kelleher, Yaros, Pitaluga and Davies. Obviously no Allison there, but still a strong group of goalkeepers, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of Yaros. The defenders, Gerald Kwanzaa, Seth Vandenberg, Nat Phillips, Amara Nallo, Andy Robertson, Conor Bradley, Costa Simicas, Luke Chambers and Owen Beck. Notable, there's 4 left backs there and only 1 right back. So my assumption is that maybe Seth Vandenberg, maybe Amara Nallo, maybe Stefan Bajcetic is the kind of backup right back for this tour, because Trent will be one of the last to rejoin, having gotten to the Euros final with England. Same with Joe Gomez, even though they barely played and Joe didn't play, they'll still be getting the time off. It's not a bad group of defenders. I mean, the purpose of Nat Phillips being on this tour is anybody's guess. I assume just for depth and cover, because they didn't bring Reece Williams or Billy Kemethio. But I have to say, I'm really looking forward to seeing Seth Vandenberg play, and I'm actually hopeful that they give him an opportunity, because I feel like it would nearly be more beneficial to us to keep him rather than sell him and either replace him with a kid or maybe not replace him at all, unless we could get a very high-end young centre-back in at a good price point, someone like maybe Dean Huijsen from Juve. I'd kind of like to keep him and just see what he's got, because he's had a couple of good loans, and I mean, there's clearly a lot of interest in him around Europe, so that would suggest he is a good player. What's your feeling on this defensive group?
Look, I mean, most of it is simply got to be about the opportunity, basically. There's a lot of players, and we spoke with a bit more relevance to this about Jarrell Kwanzaa last year, towards the end of last year, even before Slot had been confirmed. Like, there's a lot of, I don't know if questioning is the right word, but certainly there's a lot to prove in terms of these youngsters who have had an initial chance, who have got their first games in the team, and then with Kwanzaa, who became a squad player. Are they good players? And I mean that sort of in a bit of a wider sense. Like, are they players who were playing under a manager and a coach and a pathway as such, where they did get opportunities if they performed well? Or are they genuinely good players in their own right, and they can have a new manager come in, a new way of playing, whatever it is, and still be good, still look good, still be able to play in a slightly different way, in a slightly different setup and all the rest of it, and impress? Like, it was a little bit more prevalent at the time of Kwanzaa, because it was a back three that was being considered, judging by like 4 or 5 different managerial names at one point. So not quite the same question there now, but still a question. Like, and for the other ones like Vandenberg and that, this is an opportunity. No other way to describe it, really. They just have to take as gospel almost that it is that cliche of blank slate, first time for everyone to impress and all the rest of it, and do so. Like, even Connor Bradley, like, really, really good last year. And I'm sure he's been spoken about to Slot by people inside the club, saying, you know, he's really someone you want to keep developing and that. But he has to do it all over again, right from zero. And then people who, let's say, didn't quite take that step like he did, people like either Chambers or whoever, or, you know, a bit further forward in the midfield group, people like Tyler Morton and that, it's a new chance for them, and maybe a last chance for them, but you still have to go and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing with Kwanzaa as well is, how does he look without Virgil? Like, most of his appearances last year came next to Virgil. And that's a bit of a cheat code, because Virgil makes everybody better. And, I mean, the guy made Dejan Lovren look almost average. Almost. Not quite, but almost. So that's the step up that Kwanzaa has to show, is that he can perform without Virgil. He can be the lead centre-back if he's called upon to be that. I agree with you on Sepp. I think it's an opportunity to show that he can have a future at the club, that we could go into next season with him and Kwanzaa as the backups to Ibu and Virgil, and then Joe is sort of the utility defender. He might be ahead of both of them at centre-back, but he's also going to be cover at full-back. I'm really interested to see if Nalo gets some significant game time, because he is quite highly rated. Bradley is the one that's interesting, because he obviously came into the team last year and had some outstanding performances, but there were also some defensive lapses, let's call them, in his performances last year. Just times where he was a little bit too far forward and got caught out of position, or got beaten a little bit too easily. But he was making up for it with his intensity, his aggression. The fact that he's a young player, a lot of that stuff gets overlooked anyway, because people don't want to judge them too harshly. But this season, he's going to need to eradicate some of that from his game. And it's an interesting thing with Bradley, because you think back 2 summers ago, we went and bought Calvin Ramsey to come in and be developed as the backup to Trent. And maybe that was a nod at the time that we don't think Conor Bradley has a long-term future at the club. But right now, there's no question Bradley has moved ahead of Ramsey, both because of his own performances and because Ramsey has had so many injuries. But it is interesting to see how Conor Bradley kicks on this year. Like you said, Chambers and Beck, they've got an opportunity as well to just potentially impress and earn themselves a loan move, or potentially have it so the manager looks at it and thinks, you know what, we've got an offer here for Costas. We're going to let Costas go. We feel like Owen Beck or Luke Chambers is ready to step in and be the backup if we're not going to address that position, which, I mean, clearly we should. In midfield, it's Szoboszlai, it's Jones, Endo, Elliott, Besetic, McConnell, Morton, Stevenson and Niani. A bit more of a senior field to that group with Szoboszlai, Jones, Endo and Elliott, of course. They've all been regulars for us. Besetic, it's a big season for him because he obviously missed most of last season. He's barely played in the last 16 months. I think there's too much expectation being put on him by the fan base, not by the coaching staff, but by the fan base. I've seen people suggest he should be the starting six this year, which is nonsensical because A, he's not good enough at this point, and B, and B, he's not a six, so why would he be the starting six? McConnell's an interesting one. He did well last season when he was given the opportunity. Morton's obviously had a couple of good loan spells, and it does sound like there's a lot of interest in him from clubs around Europe, potentially for a permanent move. I don't know anything about Stevenson, I have to say. And Trainiani, Carol, this might be hyperbole. Just maybe. It might not be, but it might be. I think he might be the best midfield talent I've ever seen. He looks outrageously good.
Who was that, sorry, you say?
Trainiani. Is your sound not working?
No. My internet, sorry, just literally cut out when you said the player's name.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah. So Trainiani, I think it just looks a major, major talent. Now, I'm obviously messing when I say he's the best midfield prospect I've ever seen, but he does look a major talent.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's easy to say that these players look really, really good, and we've been here before, and I mean, you only have to look at the last, 3-4 weeks, and two players have been released by the club who we probably said very similar to 4 years ago. Musiala left, didn't he? And Musialowski, sorry. And Malcolm and Frauendorf, like both of them look really, really good when they first came in. So we do need to temper what we've seen with the realization that players' development is not linear and it's not something that you can absolutely predict all the time. But I think a lot of the technical side of the game that we've seen from Nioni is obviously off the charts, and more importantly, that I tend to look at with younger players is their movement and how they utilize space, especially when they don't have the ball very, very much when they do get their first touch or two of the ball, where they turn to. Do they have to sort of take it onto the other foot? Are they able to start moving straight away? Are they sort of replicating movements, or do they have a good appreciation of how to manipulate the ball and their own movement different ways? So I do see a lot more of that in Nioni than, should we say, some of the players who've been listed before. I would apply quite a bit of the same to James McConnell, to be honest. Like, I know he played well when he came in, but I thought that there was quite a difference between, should we say, his performances and Platt when he got game time, for example. Like, quite a significant difference in how they received the ball, in how they took their first touches, their movement off the ball, that kind of thing. I think there's still quite a way to go for McConnell at the minute. Yeah. I totally agree with what you say, obviously, in terms of more seniors there, but I would also perhaps say those 4 seniors that are there, 5 if you want to include Basetic in that, Elliott, Jones, Endo, and to an extent Szoboszlai, although he will obviously play, all of them would be, I think it's fair to say, have something to show again, because it's a new manager, because it's a potentially new setup and all the rest of it. It's not going to be a case of you are first choice or second choice or third choice. It's, here is where you're going to decide and define what choice you are. Like, all of those players are not like must be straight in the team in a fixed position. Even Szoboszlai, like, he could end up left or centre or sentiment or 10 or whatever. Like, I think there's quite an important month or so ahead for that group in particular.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the only player in this entire squad that has travelled that is...
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. Why do you guys think you win so many cases?
The insurance companies and other companies that we go against know that we're going to take it to the end, that we believe in the case. So we fight for every dollar, and we're not afraid to go that extra mile for our clients.
Are insurance companies actually afraid of you guys?
We don't bluff. We take it to trial, and we are not strangers of getting very, very, very large verdicts.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. And our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
This is it. The legendary live band, Fish, returns to the road this summer. Fish. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Ruoff Music Center. On sale now at livenation.com. Part of the Coors Light Concert Series.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Certain to have at position is Mo Salah. I think for everybody else, with Szoboszlai, I think it's about where slot wants to be. I do think he'll be in the team. I think all the rest of them are going to be battling to carve out minutes for themselves this season. I think Harvey Elliott has played far too much for the player that he is. I think Jurgen had a real soft spot for him, and we know Jurgen played favourites far too much. It was one of the flaws in Klopp's makeup, and I think Elliott was one of those. He just played a lot more than he should have at times when it didn't benefit the team. But Harvey's now got to start over and earn minutes under this new manager. Same with Curtis, who, I mean, we've seen runs of outstanding form, and then we've seen a lot of injuries. We've seen inconsistencies. He's now got to start over. And likewise with all these young players, and I agree with you on the McConnell thing. Like, there's parts of his game I do like, but then there are parts where you look at it and think, I feel like you're maybe a level below what we need technically. Now, he might be able to make up for that with graft. We've seen that happen before. We've seen players carve out good careers for themselves above their talent level just by grit and determination. But you mentioned Bobby Clark, and like when he plays, you see him potentially being good enough to play for us. Maybe not as a starter, but certainly as a squad player for the long term. His touch, his body positioning, the way he receives the ball and brings it immediately into space for himself, and then always has the next decision made. Bobby Clark's a lovely player. It's a shame he's injured at the moment and can't go on this tour. The forwards, Mo Salah, Fabio Carvalho, Ben Doak, Kate Gordon, Kumas and Blair. No Jayden Danns, notably, because he's also injured. And obviously, no other senior forwards other than Mo. I suppose Carvalho is the most interesting of this group because we saw him do really well at Fulham. He joined us, he scored a couple of goals, then he was disappeared. Then he had a disappointing loan to Leipzig last year, and then he went to Hull for the second half of the season, and he played really well and was part of a fun Hull team. There's definitely talent there. It's just a matter of, is there a place in an Arne Slot team for him? Because he is sort of that second striker type. And the way Slot sets his team up, there isn't a second striker in it, as there wasn't with Jurgen. But could he potentially play as a 10 under Arne? Could he be a backup to Szoboszlai if he does run with that Feyenoord shape? And I know he defines it as a 4-3-3, but the midfield is a 2 and a 1. It's not a flat 3 like Jurgen's. It's 2 behind 1, and then one of the 2 flips and it becomes 1 behind 2. Could he potentially become the backup to Szoboszlai in that more attacking midfield role? Can he add some physicality to his game? Is that the ideal use of him? Are we better off selling him? Like, there's questions about him, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can offer on this tour.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one who I think is really important summer for because, I mean, I've said before, like the games that he played for us, he looked 2 years off being Premier League ready to me. Like, way, way, way off. I know he scored a couple of important goals and he had a couple of moments, but I'm not talking about his instances of kicking the ball, which is obviously very, very good. Talking about his movement, his knowledge of where to be, his, off the ball, his physicality, just everything that goes into being a player right at the top of the game. And he's just nowhere near it. Sorry, he's miles off. So I didn't obviously see sort of championship level games of him. So there's improvement that can happen there. He's got older, which improvement can happen there. So again, yeah, looking forward to it. I believe he played centre forward in the unofficial friendly against Preston the other day, which is, again, an interesting one to consider if he does play there in the proper friendly matches, let's say. But yeah, just another one who basically has to prove himself because he's got obviously ability, but that's never been enough. Like, just ability has never, ever, ever been enough to get you into the Liverpool team, even when other factors like favouritism do.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so you wanted to go over some pre-season games that are going to take place, so let's get into those.
Yeah, so not really go over them as such in terms of the makeup of the games and that and the players, but just whether there would be some which would entice you to tuning in and watching them because they're obviously all at absolutely nonsense times. Liverpool's been a case in point. We play very late Friday night, actually a Saturday midnight kickoff UK time against Real Betis. But before that, Man City against Celtic.
Man City Celtic was last night, wasn't it?
So
at the Celtic one.
Oh yes,
3.
I mean yes. So that was overnight kickoff. That's right. Good.
I did not watch that. No, I did not watch that.
Fair enough. MLS All-Stars against the Liga MX All-Stars, the US League against the Mexican top flight.
Is that tonight?
That's tonight at 1 a.m. Thursday.
I am actually considering watching that one. More out of curiosity than anything else, because I do find Liga MX quite interesting. There's some really good players there. And I've kind of gotten back into watching a bit more MLS as well. Now, I have no idea who's on the teams. I haven't paid any attention, but I am considering watching that one.
Yeah, I think that if I was not already otherwise occupied, let's say, with the work stuff, then that would probably be one I'd be very, very tempted to tune into, to be fair. I don't know how you feel about it, but I hate all Premier League matchups pre-season. I just don't like it. You know, when we have the Premier League trophy and you get Palace against Chelsea and all that kind of stuff, I don't like it. But there are quite a few of them this summer. Arsenal against Bournemouth is one, very, very early hours Thursday morning.
Yeah, no, that'll be a non-starter for me.
Are you behind all Premier League or you know?
No, I don't like them at all.
Nation from the same league.
I understand from a marketing point of view that those are the games that will bring eyeballs. Though I mean, Arsenal, Bournemouth, I'm not sure, but I don't like them. I'd rather see English teams play Mexican teams or, you know, MLS teams if there's an availability to do that. Play the MLS All-Stars. I'd rather see them play German teams or Dutch teams or Italian teams or whoever. I don't like the all Premier League stuff. I was thinking with this the other day. This didn't used to be the way. You used to play teams that, obviously pre-internet, that you didn't know as much about. And it was more interesting that way. And you felt like it was more fun to play a different team rather than the team you're going to play at least twice in the season ahead and more if you draw them in a cup.
Yeah. Yeah, fully agree there. That's not one we need to see in summer as well. But I get your point of, the local fans, if they're taking place in America or Thailand or wherever it is, then those people like to see the players that they watch in the league and not just a random turn up from maybe German second league or whatever. Looking ahead to Saturday, then mentioned early hours is Liverpool, literally midnight Saturday. So later in the day, because it's a weekend and because it's normal daytime for most people, not necessarily for you, I suppose, with your going to sleep and your waking up times. But where's the level is what we're looking at here. 11 a.m. kickoff. How far down do we have to go, or how far up do we have to go to get Dave's eyeballs on a game? Vissel Kobe against Tottenham Hotspur.
I might watch that. I might watch that because Archie Gray, I really want to see more of the lad. I just think he's a special player. And then it's Ange Ball, and you know my love of Ange.
And low bar has been set, people, for Dave's summer, right? Next one we've got for the opportunity to cast a glance over a new Premier League team, 3 p.m, Ipswich against Fortuna Düsseldorf.
No, not a chance. Not at all.
Same again, 3 p.m. Embarrassment on the cards, Salford City v Everton.
It's Gary Neville's Salford City versus Everton. There is I would rather go to Mass than watch that.
Gary Neville's Salford against Phil Neville's Everton. There you go. And late on Saturday night, then 2 games, 9 p.m. So-called glamour friendlies coming up here. Chelsea v Celtic.
No interest.
11 p.m. Man City v AC Milan.
Maybe. I might have a look at the teams that are starting and maybe watch it and then bin it off when all the subs happen.
And then following on immediately from that game, 1 a.m, therefore into Sunday now, Arsenal v Man United, who we are obviously playing both of shortly afterwards.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to. I'll see them against us if I bother watching those games, so I'm not going to watch them play each other.
There you go. We can ignore most of the pre-season friendlies then, unless you want to tune in for Vissel Kobe against Ange Board.
Yeah.
Competitive action, Dave.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a big summer of international football. Obviously, we've had the Euros, we've had the Copa. Both were good in their own rights to a point. I think the Euros, the quality of it fell off after the second round of group stage matches, and it got a bit dull and it got a bit conservative, and other than Spain rescuing it for us. There was a lot of Gareth Southgate ball, there was a lot of Didier Deschamps ball, and a lot of boring draws. But I'm looking forward to the Olympics. I actually am looking forward to the Olympics, and I'm quite interested to see, because there's some really strong squads in the Olympics. Now, France are the obvious one that have picked a very strong squad, but they've been hit multiple times by clubs refusing to release players. So just for example, Lenny Yoro, Warren Zaire-Emery, Bradley Barcola, Matthias Tell, Lucas Chevalier, Bafode Diakata, Maxime Esteve, Leslie Ogochukwu, and Kefren Turan were all withdrawn from the squad. But you look at the squad they've got, and it's still really strong. So we'll start there with them, because they're the first team in Group A. You've got Castile Lakeba, who I think would be a brilliant signing for us. You've got Loic Bade, who I do like, failed spell at Forest aside. Manu Kone is in the squad. Michael Elise is in the squad. Arnaud Calamundo's in the squad. Desiree Doué, who's currently the source of a battle between Bayern Munich and PSG, is in the squad. And I'm really hoping he goes to Bayern, because Elise, Musiala and Doué as a 3 behind the striker could be exceptional. Jules Chotard is in that squad. You've got Rayan Cherki, you've got Megassa of Monaco, who's interesting. And then you've got your senior players, Mateta and Lacazette, who along with Bade are the overage players. Like, it's a really strong squad. That's better than the Ireland national squad by quite a margin.
I mean, look, France's youth production line has been better than most national teams for quite a while, hasn't it? And that's part of the reason why there has been discussion around Deschamps, and is he underachieving? Should he have won more competitions than he has done, maximising talent and all the rest of it? But I do think that there's a little extra interest in this one just because of some of those names, like even like Michael Elise, not just the big transfer this summer, but also the fact, obviously, he was with England, and there were calls about him being with England, decided to switch to France to play his senior football there. I think it's a really intriguing one, especially with the two seniors, let's say Lacazette and Mateta, both centre forwards, both intriguing picks, I think. You know, Lacazette maybe a little nod to his past, obviously his earlier career and sort of leadership that he might offer that group, whereas Mateta is kind of like found his way now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's coming off the season of his career where he was scoring goals for fun, and then in large part because of the service he was getting from Elise, among others. But yeah, I think this is a really good squad. I think it's the strongest squad in the tournament on paper, but I mean, they had the strongest squad in the tournament at the Euros as well, and that worked out for nothing for them. Also in their group, we've got Guinea, New Zealand, and the United States. So for Guinea, a couple of interesting players. Naby Keita is in the squad. Amadou Diawara, who routinely disappoints me and has now found his way to Anderlecht. 8 or 9 years ago, when he was at Bologna, he really did look like he was going to be something special. It just hasn't worked out at all. Iliax Mariba, Carl, who, when he was at Barcelona in their academy, this kid was hyped to the absolute moon. And yet, he's coming off 2 fairly disappointing loans at Valencia. He was okay last year, but poor the year before. And then at Getafe. Sorry, it's 3 loans. It's the 2 at Valencia and then last year with Getafe. I think the second year at Valencia he did okay, but that's about the height of it. He really has not developed into the player people expected him to be, and he reminds me a lot of the player that we own in Ryan Gravenberch. Similar type of physique, similar type of game, but similar issues with him. Maybe a case of too much too young, maybe a case of some poor advisors he's got around him, but he just doesn't perform to the level of talent that he has.
No, I don't know whether it's the moves that he's made or the timings of them, perhaps because he was just getting game time at Barcelona. That's why he was, really hyped up, basically. And then he chose to leave at the end of that season. It was all quite fraught, let's say, between him and the club, and Leipzig obviously got him in the end. And when you're young and you go to Leipzig, the expectation is you have your path set out already, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Valencia, an odd landing spot that following year because they were a proper mess that season. And it was very difficult for him to be, particularly good in the half season that he had. But going back again for the second year, that was probably his better run, to be honest. I didn't see too much of him last year at Getafe. I assume he was only a half season loan because he was certainly with Leipzig at the start of it. But yeah, there's it's not lost on him because he's only 21, and it's certainly a lot of different experience he's got. But given he was touted to be called up for the Spain national team around that time when he was getting a couple of games at Barca, it's definitely dropped off a lot for him.
It has. New Zealand, then, the only player of real note, in my opinion, is Alex Paulson, the goalkeeper, and the only...
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.